यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन भज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन भज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा, एवं विश्वपाद वर्माम च प्रत्यक्ष अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमती स्वयं शेष भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, इस्कॉन संस्थापक श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, जय विश्वपाद वर्माम च प्रत्यक्ष अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय, जय विष्णुपाद श्री लखोर किशोर दास महाराज की जय, जय विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद श्री भक्तिवेदांत ठाकुर की जय, जय विष्णुपाद वैष्णव स्वामी श्री एकनाथ दास महाराज की जय, जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्टारक श्री जी गोपाल भट्टदास गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय, उमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय, श्री श्री गौरांगी बैंगलोर ईश्वर भगवान की जय, श्री मायापुर धाम की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्री हरनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथ श्रीमद भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंद की जय, समाज भक्तवंद की जय, गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Bhagavad ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu apatreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya. Bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naishtiti. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all to this Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 4, Text 13 and Text 14. First we'll read Text 13. Nascharyametat yad asatsu sarvadha mahadvininda kunapatma vadishu Shershim Mahapurusha Pada Pamshubir Nirastat Tejasu Tadeva Shobhanam. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is not wonderful for persons who have accepted the transient material body as the self to engage always in deriding great souls. Such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good because that is the way they fall down. They are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities. Everything depends on the strength of the recipient. For example, due to the scorching sunshine, many vegetables and flowers dry up, and many glow luxuriantly. Thus, it is the recipient that causes growth and dwindling. Similarly, Mahiyasham Pada Rajobhishekam, the dust of the lotus feet of great personalities, offers all good to the recipient, but the same dust can also do harm. Those who are offenders at the lotus feet of great personality dry up, their godly qualities diminish. A great soul may forgive offenses, but Krishna does not excuse offenses to the dust of that great soul's feet. Just as one cannot tolerate the scorching sunshine on one's head, one can tolerate the scorching sunshine on one's head, but cannot tolerate the scorching sunshine on one's feet. An offender glides down more and more, therefore he naturally continues to commit offenses at the feet of the great soul. Offenses are generally committed by persons who falsely identify with the impermanent body. King Daksha was deeply engrossed in a misconception that because he identified the body with the soul. He offended the lotus feet of Lord Shiva because he thought that his body, being the father of the body of Sati, was superior to Lord Shiva's. Generally, less intelligent men misidentify in that way, and they act in the bodily conception of life. Thus, they are subject to commit more and more offenses at the lotus feet of great souls. One who has such a conception of life is considered to be in the class of animals like cows and asses. Text number 14. Yadvyaksharam nama gire ritam drinam sakrit prasangat agam ashu hantitat pavitra kirtim tam alangya shasanam bhavan ahodveshti shivam shive taraha yadvyaksharam nama gire ritam drinam sakrit prasangat agam ashu hantitat pavitra kirtim tam alangya shasanam bhavan ahodveshti shivam shivetaraha yadyaksharam nama gire vidam nunam sakrit prasangad agam ashu hantitat pavitra kirtim tam alangya shasanam bhavan ahodveshti shivam shivetaraha. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sati continued, my dear father, you are committing the greatest offense by envying Lord Shiva, whose very name consisting of two syllables, Shi and Va, purifies one of all sinful activities. His order is never neglected. Lord Shiva is always pure, and no one but you envies him. Since Lord Shiva is the greatest soul among the living entities within this material world, his name Shiva is very auspicious for persons who identify the body with the soul. If such persons take shelter of Lord Shiva, gradually they will understand that they are not the material body but the spirit soul. Shiva means Mangala or auspicious, Within the body, the soul is auspicious. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. This realization is auspicious. As long as one does not realize his identity as the soul, whatever he does is inauspicious. Shiva means auspicious, and devotees of Lord Shiva gradually come to the platform of spiritual identification. But that is not all. Auspicious life begins from the point of spiritual identification. But there are still more duties. One has to understand one's relationship with the Supreme Soul. If one is actually a devotee of the Lord Shiva, he comes to the platform of spiritual realization. But if he is not intelligent enough, then he stops at that point, only realizing that he is the spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi. If he is intelligent enough, however, he should continue to act in the way of Lord Shiva, for Lord Shiva is always absorbed in the thought of Vasudeva. As previously explained, Sattvam, Vishuddham, Vasudeva, Shabditam. Lord Shiva is always in meditation on the lotus feet of Vasudeva, Shri Krishna. Thus, the auspicious position of Lord Shiva is realized if one takes to the worship of Vishnu, because Lord Shiva says in the Shiva Purana that the topmost worship is worship of Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is worshipped because he is the greatest devotee of the Lord Vishnu. One should not, however, make the mistake of considering Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu to be on the same level. That is also an atheistic idea. It is also enjoined the Vaishnaviya Purana that Vishnu or Narayana is the exalted supreme personality of Godhead, and no one should be compared to him as equal, even Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, not to speak of other demigods. Om Gyanti Miranti Ananjam Shalakya Chakshut Miltam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vidapadakamanaam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Ragnatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karunasnindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Taptakanchana Kaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanashta Devi Parmami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhishya Vasni Vaivsa Pattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktabandha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Muham Karo Divachalam Punkulanke Digam Yatkavadam Mande Shigram Datanam Parmandamadam Shri Chaitanya Vishram. Hare Krishna. So, just to connect to the previous verses, we see that Sati has gone to her father Daksha's house, where there's a great sacrifice being organized by Daksha. Daksha has invited everybody excepting Lord Shiva, and in fact, in a sacrifice, a part of the remnants are offered back to whatever is offered in the sacrifice is offered back as the prasadam of Lord Vishnu to the participants, and so there was no seat for not only was Lord Shiva was not invited, but the remnants were also not offered back to Lord Shiva. So that is when Sati was there, and she was there against the wishes of Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva could predict all these things, and he insisted that he in fact advised Sati not to go, but still she was insistent because she felt that she would be welcomed by her sisters and mother, etc., and a lot of relations are coming. So she went there, and there she finds that she is not received properly. She feels very, very insulted, and she starts insulting Daksha, her father. So in these two verses, we see how she is speaking to Daksha. In the first verse, she says that it is not wonderful for persons who have accepted the transient material body as the self to engage always in deriding great souls. And such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good, because that is the way they fall down. They are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities. So here what happens is that she is identifying her father Daksha as a materialistic person who always identifies himself with the body. And those who identify themselves with the body, they always deride others who are spiritually elevated. And she also mentioned that such envy on the part of such materialistic person is good, because they fall down in that way. By envying spiritually elevated personalities like Lord Shiva, they fall down. So in Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is a mention of how uh, even caste brahmanas were envious of Vaishnavas, who though breathing are like lifeless and are known as Brahma Daityas, whereas pure brahmanas become subordinate to Vaishnava principles. These brahmanas who are envious, they become ghosts in their uh, next life. So some examples are given. For example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who appeared as a devotee of Lord Krishna, he was cursed by a brahmana. So once a brahmana came to Srivas Pandita's house where they used to have kirtan every night. Throughout night, they used to have nice kirtan, and many of his associates would dance and sing in ecstasy. So once a brahmana came to this house of Srivas Pandita to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates dance, but he was not allowed inside. So the brahmana was upset and he left. Next day, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bathing in the Ganges, this brahmana saw the Lord, and angrily he told the Lord that I came to see the kirtan that you are doing, but the brahmana stopped me from going inside. He was so angry that he snapped his brahmanical thread in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he cursed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, you will also be kept outside your house and you will never be able to enjoy a family life. So that means he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one day will come that you will also be outside of your house, you will never be able to enjoy your family life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in fact, welcomed that curse. He replied that this curse has been a great boon for me. Seeing this, the Brahmana got scared and he said, it is because of you that I was forced to act like this. You are a super soul within everyone's heart. You will distribute love of God to everyone. Only I am being deprived of your love, what will be my destination? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied that your curse is a great boon for me. If you fulfill my desire, you will have no fear. Then the Brahmana fell at the Lord's lotus feet and apologized. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lifted the Brahmana and embraced him. Immediately the Brahmana was filled with Krishna Prema. So from this we see that the Brahmana cursed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but again he fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Lord forgave him and embraced him, and on the other hand the Lord gave him Krishna Prema also. There is another example given in Srimad Bhagavatam where Daksha, in the case of Daksha itself, Daksha first got 10,000 sons in the womb of his wife, and they were all known as Haryashvas. And by the order of their father, his father Daksha ordered them to create more population. So for that they went to practice a lot of austerities because that's how the system was prevailing. And they went to practice a lot of austerities and penances. So when they were coming back to Daksha's home, Narad Muni saw these boys and he explained the goal of life to these boys. And then they all became enlightened. And Narad Muni explained that goal of life is not to become karmis and beget children, but rather get enlightened and in the spiritual life. And he enlightened them and left. So they took to spiritual life, and then Daksha got upset on Narad Muni because Daksha wanted them to create progeny, but they took to the spiritual life and they renounced everything. Similarly, again, Daksha got 1,000 more sons, and he ordered them to increase progeny, and they were called Savalasvas. Yeah, Savalasvas. And they also started worshipping Lord Vishnu to beget children. Narad Muni realized this time, and he convinced them to become mendicants. And they also never returned home. This time Daksha got very, very angry and told Narad Muni, you have created a mentality of renunciation to these innocent boys, and therefore you are a shameless person and devoid of compassion. Are you not ashamed to pose as a devotee and perform abominable actions like this? He said, you are a rascal and do not know how to behave towards others. You may travel all over the universe, but I curse you that you don't have any residence. Narad Muni said, what you have told me is very good. I accept this curse because Narad Muni was actually very tolerant. He did not curse back Daksha. And Daksha told him that in future you will never be able to stay in any place even for more than one day. Narad Muni actually fully accepted that curse with tolerance, and he took it as a blessings. And we see that Narad Muni actually travels. He doesn't stay for more than a day in any one place. He keeps traveling and he keeps preaching the glories of the Lord Krishna. And there's nothing better than that is possible for anybody. So that this way, Narad Muni also accepted that curse as a benediction in his life. Basically, materialist people have this envy towards spiritual personalities. And this is caused because the materialistic persons think that spiritual personalities have a desire for sense gratification, but it is not so. Those who are spiritually elevated, they have no desire for sense gratification. In fact, they are basically renounced. And this thought process is what creates envy in them. Then it is said also that sometimes when there are equals, there is a rivalry and competition. Then this envy arises. And amongst there, the envious are always looking at their position, power, name, opulence, reputation, etc. And then amongst the juniors, there is a tendency to criticize others, which one leads one to envy. So it is said that there are three ways to get rid of this envy, that is by constantly engaging in hearing and chanting. Then consider that all are equals and all are the property of Krishna. One must always meditate on Krishna in the other person's heart, because the Lord is situated as a super soul in everyone's heart. So if one considers that way, then one becomes free from envy. Another example is that during Srila Prabhupada's time, there was one Yamuna Mataji who was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, and once Srila Prabhupada asked her, "Are you teaching the other devotees to cook these nice dishes that you are cooking for me?" And the other devotees said, "No, Srila Prabhupada, she's not teaching us." Then Srila Prabhupada told her that you should teach all the devotees whatever you know, because by that you will become free of envy from others. Otherwise, you will develop envy. So by giving knowledge of whatever one has got, if one gives to others, one would rather become free from envy. One should not think that they will be competitors, because one is giving knowledge to them. So they will have that respect and regards also. So that those who, such materialists who envy the others, they are diminished by the dust of the great personality, that is devotees of the Lord. But then there's a point mentioned here that everything depends on the strength of the recipient. And the example is given that when sometimes there is a scorching sunshine, so many vegetables and flowers, they dry up. But at the same time, there are many flowers and vegetables, they grow very nicely. So this is because it is up to the recipient who receives this sunshine. So one who receives it positively gets positive results. One who receives it negatively, he starts, such personality, they start dwindling. So this is a simple example that is given. So similarly, the dust of great personalities offers all good to the recipient, but the same dust can also do harm. So those who are offenders to the lotus feet of such great personalities, they dry up of all their godly qualities and they diminish. It is said that a great soul, if he is offended, he may forgive for the offenses that have been committed on him. But Lord Krishna does not excuse such a person. Just as example is given as, one can take a lot of water heat that comes on one's heads, but when it comes, the same heat comes on one's feet, then it is difficult for one to bear. So similarly, Lord Krishna does not forgive one who offends a devotee of the Lord. So an offender normally glides down more and more, and naturally he tends to commit more offenses at the feet of the great soul. So generally, these offenses are committed by those who identify themselves with the body. But one who understands that he's not this body, he's a spirit soul, he does not commit these offenses. So Daksha was one who was a hardcore materialist. So he always identified himself with material body. So he offended the Lord Shiva, thinking that his body, Daksha was the father-in-law of Lord Shiva. So he thought that Lord Shiva, being son-in-law, is junior to him. So definitely Daksha thought that himself to be to be elevated more than Lord Shiva in terms of materialistic body. So this way, when this thought came into his mind, he started offending Lord Shiva. And here Srila Prabhupada mentions that one who is used to such a concept of life in his materialistic way of life, they are in the class of animals like cows and asses. So this is in the verse number 13. And then verse number 14 will continue. There are important points here. So Sati continues to blaspheme her father. She says, "My dear father, you are committing the greatest offense by envying Lord Shiva, whose very name consisting of two syllables, that is Shi and Va, purifies one of all the sinful activities. Its order is never neglected, and Lord Shiva is always pure, and no one but you envies him." So here, some of the important qualities of a great devotee of the Lord is given. First thing she says that you're committing great offenses by envying Lord Shiva, whose very name consists of two syllables, that is Shiva, Shi and Va. So Shi and Va in Sanskrit means auspiciousness. So one who utters the name of Lord Shiva, he becomes purified of all the sinful activities. And an order of such a person is never neglected. So Lord Shiva is always very pure. And she says that he's situated in the pure state of affairs. And so no one but you, like a materialistic person, becomes envious of him. So many times when Shiva was angry with Daksha, and this is one example given in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is mentioned that Lord Shiva was angry on a person, Daksha. Now there was another person who was a follower of Daksha in the name of Pusa. So this Pusa laughed at Shiva, showing his teeth. So it so happened, for laughing at Lord Shiva, the Pusa lost all his teeth and he had to live actually by eating ground floor. He could not eat, he could only eat grounded floor. Like maida, atta, and all. He could not eat anything else. He could eat only grounded floor. This is because the enviousness that he had towards Shiva, and he showed his teeth at Lord Shiva. So this is what happens when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. Now, actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, who is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, in fact, he says in one of his classes that all the creations that we see in this material world, they are all created by the Supreme Lord. So one should not find fault with any of the creations also in this material world. Forget about a materialistic person. One should not find fault with any of the creations in this material world, because it is the Lord who has created, and the Lord does not make mistakes. He makes a perfect creation. So one should not find fault with these jivas also. So similarly, going back to the point in first verse, serving a Vaishnava has got its positive result, and at the same time, finding a fault with the Vaishnava has got a negative result. And since Lord Shiva is always one of the greatest souls, it is said that Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. He is one of the greatest of the Vaishnavas, always meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so those who take shelter of Lord Shiva and gradually they understand that they are not this material body, but a real spirit soul. So there are two stages of self-realization. Now actually Shiva also means Mangala, or auspiciousness. Within the body, this is the soul that is auspicious, not the material body, because the material body is active by the presence of the soul, not otherwise. So it is a soul that is auspicious. And the first stage of self-realization is I am a spirit soul. That is, people say that Aham Brahmasmi, or I am Brahman. This realization is also very auspicious, but it does not end with that, thinking that I am Brahman or spirit soul. So gradually, when one comes to understand that he's a spirit soul, the next point that he comes is to serve the devotees of the Lord, in whose heart is all the same spirit soul is present. That is what is the next stage of realization. And to understand that the spirit soul is nothing but a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and that Lord as Paramatma is present in everyone's heart as a super soul. So that is the stage of the ultimate stage of realization. And being the part and parcel of a supreme soul, one's constitutional position is nothing but to serve the supreme soul. So by saying Shiva, one becomes very auspicious and they come to the platform of spiritual identification. So the auspiciousness in one's life starts by one's spiritual identification. But there are other duties like uh, coming to the platform of serving. But this happens only if one is intelligent enough to understand the further stages of self-realization. Otherwise, what happens is that one remains on that stage as Aham Brahmasmi, and many times he does not remain that stage, he tends to fall down. That's why one should go higher and higher and higher. And Lord Shiva, being a great Vaishnava, is always in meditation on the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva, that is Sri Krishna. That is why he is auspicious. So if one takes to worship of Lord Shiva, he tends to understand that Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, and he also gradually progresses in the path of self-realization. Now, some examples are given. Many times Srila Prabhupada is compared to Lord Rama, because the example is that Rama took the help of monkeys to conquer Ravana, and Srila Prabhupada used his followers to conquer Maya in this material world. Srila Prabhupada, Rama went to Sri Lanka to bring back Sita Devi, but Srila Prabhupada traveled throughout the world. He made many followers and he used all his followers to conquer Maya in this material world. And we see that how Srila Prabhupada has given so many books, spread the congregation chanting of the holy name, etc. And those who are all from the Western country, they all became great devotees of the Lord. Similarly, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a similarity in Krishna and Uddhava. They both were looking very same externally. And in terms of bodily size, beauty, etc., in every respect, Krishna and Uddhava would look very much similar. Only thing was Uddhava would not wear a peacock feather, whereas Krishna always wore a peacock feather. And in fact, there are times when Uddhava would wear Krishna's dress, and nobody would be in a position to identify that he's Uddhava or Krishna. Only difference was that Krishna would wear a peacock feather. Initially, many times the gopis also thought that Krishna has come, but actually, when he came nearby, their dreams were shattered because they realized it was not Krishna, but it was Uddhava. So the devotees also sometimes resemble like the Lord, or they perform tasks like the Lord. And one of the qualities that is given in that, a Vaishnava is one who is inside and outside the same. He is not different. Whereas an outsider, he has got a different mentality outside, and from the inside, he has got a different agenda. And that is how Vaishnavas are they have same outside as well inside, and they are very, very simple by behavior. The simplicity means there is no duplicity. It is said that once and these Vaishnavas, they always meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. One example given is that when Srila Prabhupada was sitting in the Vyasasana, he was deep in his meditation, and once his disciple came and asked him that what was he meditating on, to which Srila Prabhupada replied that he was meditating on what was Mother Yashoda actually packing for Krishna in his tiffin box. That means what was Mother Yashoda actually packing for Krishna? Krishna used to go to the forest for grazing along with his cowherd boys. So Srila Prabhupada was contemplating or meditating on what Mother Yashoda was actually packing for his son Krishna. So this is how then the disciple realized that Srila Prabhupada was not from this material world. He was a great devotee who was always meditating on Lord Sri Krishna. There is another example in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where there is a conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raman Raya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking Raman Raya, what is the greatest reputation? To which Raman Raya replied, that a person who is reputed as a great devotee has the greatest reputation, because a devotee not only lives forever in the Vaikuntha planets, but by his reputation, he also lives forever within the material world also. So a Vaishnava is one who spreads his reputation even in the material world when he is living here, and not only in the spiritual world. So the highest, it is said that the highest perfectional Brahmana is a Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava is one who knows the science of absolute truth completely. There is also a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, where the Lord himself says, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. That means Krishna is describing the glories of a devotee by saying that there is no one greater than a devotee whose interest is only in me and is therefore engaging and dedicating all his activities unto Lord Krishna and all his life unto Krishna without cessation. That means without any interruption. So that is what is called pure devotional service, unmotivated and uninterrupted. There is an example. So some more quotes are there. This is a quote from Chaitanya Bhagavat, which the translation states, Krishna appears in this material world in 4 forms. Srimad Bhagavatam, Tulasi, Ganga, and devotees. So these 4 representations related to the Supreme Lord are worshipped as manifestations of the Lord itself. That means these 4 personalities, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, is non-different from the Lord. Tulasi is also non-different from the Lord. Similarly, Ganga and also devotees. So all these 4 representations are manifestations of the Supreme Lord, and they are worshipped as good as the Lord himself. So this is a quote from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Another quote that says, Vishnu and Vaishnavas are equal, but atheists and blasphemers think otherwise. One who worships the lotus feet of Krishna without discriminating among Vaishnavas is delivered. That means there is no difference between the Lord and the devotees of Lord Vishnu. And one who worships the lotus feet of Lord Krishna without discriminating among Vaishnavas. That means one should not discriminate, this Vaishnava is good, this Vaishnava is bad, and so forth. And one who does not have such a discrimination, they are delivered. This is another example on stressing the importance of Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada actually specifically mentions about the absence of envy in pure devotees of the Lord. Actually, Lord Kapila, the Lord in his incarnation as Lord Kapila, he explains to his mother Devahuti in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says, even devotional service is many times performed in terms of the quality of the executor. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the class that how a person who receives the sunshine, he looks at it, some look at it as very positive, he may tolerate it, but one who cannot tolerate the heat on his feet. Similarly, devotional service is performed in terms of the quality of the executor. So devotional service can also be performed by a person who is envious, who is proud, violent, and angry. And these are all considered to be in the mode of ignorance. That means devotional service in the mode of ignorance are performed by those who are envious, is one of the qualities, who are proud of themselves, they are violent and angry. One who is with the above symptoms is proud of his personality, he is always envious and vengeful in his anger mode and thinks he is the best devotee. So this is the mode of ignorance, devotional service in the mode of ignorance. One should offer respects but keep away from associating with such Vaishnavas. That means one should duly offer respects to these Vaishnavas also, but they should keep away from associating with such devotees. Then performing devotional service with a motive for material enjoyment, fame and opulence is in the mode of passion. That means many perform devotional service with the motive of expecting some results. They expect some name, fame, position, etc. So one who performs devotional service with some expectation, this is in the mode of passion. And when one performs devotional service in the mode of goodness, he offers the result of all his activities to the Lord himself. That means he reaches a stage of pure devotional service. That is what is called Anyavilashita Sunyam, unadulterated and unmotivated. So one should try to identify devotees who perform this unadulterated, unmotivated devotional service. And by such association, one can develop such qualities in the process of their performing devotional service. So those in the mode of, who perform mode of ignorant devotional service, we avoid associating with them. And those who perform in the mode of passion, we try to take what is good in them. We don't try to take what is bad in them. And they may be expecting something in the process of devotional service, but real devotional service starts at a stage when one does not have any expectations in the process of performing the devotional service. That is what is called Anyavilashita Shunyam. That is unmotivated and also uninterested. Some more quotes that a pure devotee of the Lord is always peaceful because he has no motive. But everybody else is either a bhukti or a mukti siddhikami, or always they are ashanta because they have a desire. So what happens is that either one wants to eat the fruits of results of his performing the devotional service. That is, those people are called bhuktis, or they want to enjoy the results of the fruits of devotional service. And some are called mukti siddhi kami because they want to be liberated from this material world, and so they perform this material devotional service. And both of these categories, it is said, because they have a desire, they are always ashanta. They are never peaceful. They are always disturbed. So desire means disturbance. Example is given that a steady water reservoir, if a small stone is thrown, then there are ripples. Similarly, more stones means more ripples. So a mind with desires is like a river with in which many stones are thrown. So one should not have any desire in the process of performing devotional service. And many ripples means many disturbances. So desirelessness is actually not possible. But it is possible to achieve perfection of desires. Of course, it takes time. Everyone is not will not be in a position to perform devotional service in the mode of goodness. But then one can achieve that state of perfection. Oneness of the desire is desire of the living entity and that of the Lord. So Lord desires that the living entities perform devotional service without any uninterrupted motive or any desires. That is what is called the perfection of desires. There is a similar quote in Srimad Bhagavatam, not Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, which says, where the Lord says, he who hates the Pandavas hates me, and he who follows them follows me. Know that I am one in spirit with the righteous Pandavas. They are my life heir. I mean, the Pandavas, as we know, they are great devotees of the Lord. And so by this example, the Lord is mentioning that he who hates the Pandavas hates Krishna also. And he who follows the Pandavas or the devotees of the Lord, they follow the Lord Krishna. And that is the spirit of oneness or the spirit of righteousness. And they are, Krishna further says, they are my life heir. Similarly, there is a quote in Brihad Bhagavatam which says, without the unconditional mercy of the Lord's most pure beloved friends, the devotees, loving devotional service can never succeed or bear fruits. That means unless and until one gets the mercy of pure devotees of the Lord, one's devotional service need not be successful or bear fruit. So that is why it is said that one must always try to identify such devotees of the Lord, try to serve them, by which we can also imbibe those qualities. And even if by chance one comes across a devotee who might show a lot of external devotional service, one will not reap the fruit of satisfying Krishna and enjoying transcendental ecstasy. So pure devotional service completely depends on the authority of Lord's beloved devotees. And then we see that what happens is, in this case, is that as Sati goes to this particular sacrifice, she feels insulted by Lord Shiva to the extent that finally she decides to give up her body. And then Lord Shiva actually wants to teach Daksha a lesson. whereby then he creates a big demon called Virabhadra and so forth, and then Daksha is killed, and later he's given the head of a court. So this is what happens when one becomes envious of a Vaishnava, great Vaishnava like Lord Shiva. One glides down further and further. Another example that is given is in Srimad Bhagavatam, where once Ambrish Maharaj was actually going to break his fast, and he just took a drop of water. And in the meantime, when Durvasa Muni came with many of his followers, Durvasa Muni actually told Ambrish Maharaj that he's coming. And in the meantime, the time for Dwadasi, breaking the Dwadasi fast was getting over. So Ambrish Maharaj actually fasted the previous day completely on Ekadasi, and he wanted to take a drop of water to break that fast. But Durvasa Muni could understand, and he sent a demon to chase Ambrish Maharaj. But Lord Vishnu could not take that. Immediately, Lord Vishnu sent his Sudarshan Chakra to kill the demon. And finally, the Sudarshan Chakra came all the way up to Ambrish Maharaj. And the Lord said that my Sudarshan Chakra will not come back to me. But if you want to be forgiven, you go back to Ambrish Maharaj. And finally, Ambrish Maharaj Durvasa Muni had to go to Ambrish Maharaj to beg forgiveness. And that is why he was forgiven. So this is how committing an offense on a great devotee of the Lord makes a person to glide down further, down and down and down. That is another example that is given. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we find that, I forgot the name of the person, he was very much envious of Srivas Pandita. Srivas Pandita was a great devotee of the Lord. And this person who was also on a materialistic platform, he was so envious of Srivas Pandita that one night when Srivas Pandita was sleeping, outside Srivas Pandita's house, he kept some wine and all the paraphernalia that are related to the worship of Durga Devi. And when Srivas Pandita got up in the morning, he was surprised to see who has kept it. And actually, this person did it so that others would see this and then they condemn Srivas Pandita. But it so happened that this person developed leprosy by offending, trying to bring down the position of Srivas Pandita. So this is one should avoid committing offenses under the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. And one last point that is mentioned is that one should not, however, make a mistake of considering Lord Shiva and Vishnu to be on the same level. Yes, it's an important point. There is also, one should not consider to be Shiva to be equal to or independent of Lord Vishnu. Similarly, one should not consider Brahma or Shiva to other demigods to be. Many people consider Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be God. That's a very great offense on the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which we recite every day. So, even though Lord Shiva is on a very high platform of the Vaishnavas, and I've given quotes that Vaishnavas and Vishnu are equal, which the Lord himself says, but should not consider even great demigods like Lord Shiva. In fact, Shiva has got a separate tattva called Shiva Tattva. We'll not dwell into that in detail. He is higher than all other demigods also. So still, Lord Shiva is not independent of Lord Vishnu. So one should not make a mistake of considering Lord Shiva and Vishnu to be on the same level. Those who think like that, they are also an atheistic mentality. And it is mentioned in the Vaishnaviya Purana that Vishnu or Narayana is the exalted Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is one Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Lord Vishnu, and no one else. And anyone who consider Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to be on the equal platform, they are atheistic in nature. Before I conclude the class, I thought that today is a disappearance day of Vakreshwar Pandita, and he was a great devotee during the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His service was, he would be a great ecstatic dancer, and whenever he would dance, those who would accompany Vakreshwar, Mahaprabhu would have many Sankirtan groups when he's dancing. And Vakreshwar Pandita would be one of the leading dancers in one of the groups. And whenever Vakreshwar Pandita would dance, those who watch him dance will also be dancing in great ecstasy. So once in the house of Shiva's Pandita, Mahaprabhu sang and Vakreshwar Pandita started dancing in constant ecstasy. And this went on for about 72 hours. So at that time, Mahaprabhu said, Vakreshwara, if I have one week like you, he says, I have only one wing like you, but if I have had another, certainly I could fly in the sky. That means Mahaprabhu is telling Vakreshwar Pandita that Mahaprabhu has got only one wing, but if he had another wing like Vakreshwar Pandita, Mahaprabhu could fly in the sky. This is why he was glorifying Vakreshwar Pandita. And Mahaprabhu always glorified him for his singing and dancing, and how Vakreshwar Pandita was always pleasing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with this service in and all the Kirtan parties that used to be there. And one of the key important places was Siva's Angan, that is Siva's Pandita's house. And the other was in the Rath Yatra in Puri. Mahaprabhu would have many Kirtan teams, and Vakreshwar Pandita would be the leading dancer and singer in one of those groups. More important quotes. There's one more important quote I saw. There was another person during Mahaprabhu's time in the name of Devan Pandita. He actually was a scholar, and he considered himself to be a great scholar, and he found fault with Srivas Pandita, with the result that he was chastised by Mahaprabhu himself. But one time when Mahaprabhu met Devan Pandita, he said, actually Mahaprabhu, Vakreshwar Pandita was so dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that when Devananda Pandita was not able to get mercy by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that you associate with Vakreshwar Pandita. By associating with Vakreshwar Pandita, all the offenses that you committed to Sivas Pandita will be atoned for. That is what happens then, because Vakreshwar Pandita was a great devotee of the Lord. And Mahaprabhu told Devan Pandita that by associating with Vakreshwar Pandita, the offenses that you committed unto Sivas Pandita would be all atoned for. This was one of the important quotes. And another important quote is, listen, Brahmin, if someone eats poison, then he must take ambrosia to the very same mouth. I mean, one must take poison to the same mouth in which he takes a nectar. So he says, let me answer your question. Whatever blasphemies you have unknowingly made are exactly like poison which you have eaten. Now you must use the same mouth to constantly glorify Krishna's names and qualities, which are like ambrosia. So this is how Mahaprabhu advises Devananda Pandita. You have used this mouth to insult the devotee, now use it to glorify them. Glorifying the devotees as the best of humanity, glorifying them in their songs and poetry, I will destroy all the poisonous blasphemy that you have given. So that means when one glorifies the devotees whom one has blasphemed, one can become free from all the offenses that he has committed onto this devotee. So, to the effect, how to become free from offenses, it is mentioned that stop, rather than performing thousands of other ineffective atonement rituals, one should glorify the Vaishnava. By serving the devotee, Devananda Pandita actually became a believer in Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. So though Devananda Pandita committed many offenses, but later on he became a great believer in Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. And this good fortune visited him when Vakreshwar Pandita came to stay in his house. So Vakreshwar Pandita, he had the opportunity associating with Devananda Pandita, and then Devananda Pandita, because of that association, he became free from all the offenses that he committed to Devananda Pandita. With this, I conclude the class for the day. The next 2 minutes, I can take some questions or comments if anybody has got. Any questions anybody has got? Okay. So if no questions or comments, can I take the class as closed?
Thank you, Chaitanya Prabhu, for a wonderful class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for giving us information on Vakreshwar Pandit. I think we've not heard of, unfortunately, I think some
He is one of the leading
associates of
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancers.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that description.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Nanta Srimad Bhagavatam ki.